Okay, very good. Welcome to session 5. This is today we're gonna end the unit 2 that it's related to the research on the teaching of conversation. In the previous topic in the last session, we were discussing that the 4 key terms when we talk about the speaking, and we were mentioning that they are fluency, accuracy, pronunciation, and grammar. That's right. Today, we're gonna talk about fluency and accuracy. I would like to listen to you according to your experience, which is more important for you.
Well, when it comes to speaking, I think that I will be fluent, right? But when it comes to writing, will be dealing with grammar. So that's what I think both are important because either way you're gonna be using for speaking or writing.
Okay. What about the rest? Which is more important for you, Mr. Ag, Mrs. Ag, Odalis, Franklin? Okay, we're gonna see something here that it's related to the definition of these two. Fluency, in other words, is mostly associated with speaking, as you said, Oreste. It's related to the speaking, but we use it when we write as well, right? When you are writing at a certain point, you are using fluency. But it's more related to the speaking, oral communication. When you speak, you can be defined if your fluency is good or not. And accuracy, it's more related to grammar, how to correct grammar, okay? In the way that you use some grammar tenses, that is accuracy. In speaking, because grammar is not only for writing, it's for speaking as well. Because if you write well, you can speak well. If you're not, your oral communication is gonna sound poor, right?
Yes.
That's right. That's why you need to do both.
Okay, here we have a video that says accuracy versus fluency when speaking English, which is more important. We're not going to watch it now because of the time, but I recommend you to watch when you got time. Let's see here. Okay, in this document, you have the definition of fluency and accuracy, and you have more detailed information. When you got time, you can read this to be more practical with this, okay? Let's see here. We have a discussion. That is the most important that I would like to listen to you. When you're making an activity, a reading activity, and your students are reading, and after you identify that they are not speaking very fluent, what would you recommend to your students?
Well, the first thing that we have to be aware is that we have to count with enough knowledge about the vocabulary we are going to develop.
Okay, what about the rest?
Well, I think both are important because first of all, like Franklin mentioned, you need to know the vocabulary to have a fluency conversation. So both are they go by hand.
Okay, and when your students are reading, so that is just the two parts that you're gonna take into account. Fluency and accuracy can be measured. Accuracy when someone is reading.
It can be because they need to know what they are speaking about it.
Franklin, what about you? Imagine that you're making a reading activity. So you're gonna measure just fluency, you're gonna assess only fluency. Can accuracy be assessed on a reading activity?
Actually, yeah, actually everything is linked to one thing, because for example, if you want to access accuracy, we have to access fluency as well, because the simple in simple words, both things are linked to one each other. We cannot just pay attention to fluency and not accuracy.
Okay. What about you, Odalis? Just let me remind you something, that participation is so important, okay? This is the first time that you're connected to the Zoom meeting. And remember that attendance is not only to be connected, but also to participate. In this session, as I told you at the beginning, so we're gonna discuss just fluency and accuracy, and for this, we're gonna end the unit 2. And don't forget that next Sunday, you have the time for doing the first midterm test. It is on the platform as well, so you can check there and you can continue doing the activities. Okay.
Okay, sir.
I've got another question for you. So fluency, when you want to measure fluency to the student, which other activities you can do it? For example, here, taking into account this purpose that we have here, that you want to help students achieve accurate perception and production of a target item, which can be sound, a word, or a sentence structure. That is for accuracy. Let's see the purpose that we have for fluency. It says that to help students practice language and listening, speaking, reading, and or writing activities to so develop fluency in using the language and a spontaneous communication. The last part is so important because remember that when we have prompt topics, for some of the students, it's very difficult to communicate when we have a prompt topic. They are not a spontaneous communication. There are some students that they prefer to research something about that topic, read a lot, and after try to explain what they understood or not. But when we have prompts, it's so difficult. What do you think?
Well,
Well,
well, sure.
well, that's right because some students, like you mentioned, sir, first their research to discuss what they are talking about. But when it comes to a spontaneous conversation, they have some kind of issues because they don't have a fluency or even their, I forgot the word, the vocabulary. So that's the reason they have to practice and read and or even watch different movies or even shows in English. That way they can start learning new vocabulary words and how to communicate with other people.
Okay. Franklin, is your turn?
Sure. Yeah. There is another fact that is because, for example, when students are reading something, they are most focused on pronouncing the words correctly instead of understanding what's going on with what they are reading. But it depends on the level they are in. Because, for example, if we are teaching grammar or listening or teaching English generally to a lower level, we have to focus that those students understand and pronounce the words correctly.
Can we evaluate accuracy and fluency in A1 students in the same way as you evaluate to B1 students?
Well, not really, because there are different levels.
Okay, based on your experience, if you have to test the students speaking, how would you do it? Would you do it with previous knowledge to them, or you would do it using prompt topics? Or do you think that in this case, the level, the English level of students, it had to be taken into account?
Well, in this, I would think the best way to evaluate the student will be to a prompt test or even a conversation. That way we can know the level they are.
Okay, very good. And do you think that for Oresta, do you think that for A1 students, the theory or the way that you were mentioning, that can be adaptable for A1 students or not? It could be.
Well, remember that we can adapt everything. That
Right.
would depend on each other or the way they want to learn.
Okay. What about you, Franklin?
Can you please repeat the question?
How would you measure fluency in B1 students? Would you do it with previous knowledge in some previous classes or using prompt topics?
Oh, got it. Well, as I explained to you before, it depends on the level you are teaching. For
Oh, yeah,
example, if
yeah.
we,
I'm
yeah, sure.
defining the
Yeah,
level.
yeah.
It is
Well,
for B1 students
well, I will with previous knowledge,
with the previous knowledge. Why?
because, for example, if I am teaching students which are in, let's say, eighth grade, I I know that they must know the enough vocabulary to at least understand or try to communicate an idea.
Okay. Let me see who is in the meeting. Azucena, what about you, Azucena? Do you agree with them?
Can you hear me?
Yes, of course.
I honestly I'm not sure because I didn't hear what they said. I just logged in. What was the question once again?
How would you measure fluency and accuracy? Would you do it with previous knowledge in some previous classes, or you would use prompt topics?
I think I would use prompt topics because it's something that we can correct on the spot.
Mhm.
Because we're talking about accuracy while speaking, right?
Yeah, it's just for speaking.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, if you have the opportunity to correct something the second you listen to it so that the person can fix it for future, for the future, then I will do it immediately.
Okay, good. And that's the same way that you're saying now, that can be useful for A1 students, or that can be adapted. Because you chose the prompt topic. That can be useful for A1 student.
I think so. Yes.
Okay, let's continue with another part. Okay, let's see. They are videos. Let's see the interlanguage. What is interlanguage? Remember in the previous session that we were discussing the interlanguage? We said that interlanguage is international communication. Do you remember who can define interlanguage? What interlanguage is?
It's being, in this case, speaking another language. It's basically a second language, which is not mother tongue, but you learn and then you use a second language.
Okay. What about the rest? The rest of students, can you give me some examples about interlanguage? Okay, in the previous classes, we said that interlanguage are systematic. But do you think that when we talk about systematics, they are open to changes or they are closed? Okay, listen, how many of you would use this activity to see how much English your students know? Would you use a picture to define what day level they are? Can you hear the question? Hello, folks. Okay, listen. Because of the time, because we only have 30 minutes for recording, this is gonna be discussed in the next session. Okay. So please go on session 5 and you're gonna find this. Okay, and we're gonna discuss the interlanguage for the next session. Don't forget that, okay, please. What did the students understand when you show a picture, or when you have the activity showing pictures, what do you want to achieve with them? So that's gonna be the task, sorry, for next session, okay? And you're gonna provide some example of interlanguage. Can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, very good. Have you got some questions so far?
No question.
No question.
Okay,
I will research interlanguage.
Okay. I really appreciate those students who were connected today. Okay, this is gonna be the end for this session. Please read the information that you have on each one and be ready for the midterm test that is gonna be online next Sunday, okay?
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, see you.
Okay,
Take care.
Bye.